Chibis, I'm Aiwe, and today we are talking about the unproven legend of LOL Superman. If you enjoy stories like this, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go. What if the most famous lost video on the internet has never been proven to exist? No file, no authenticated frame, and no verified eyewitness who can agree on what was shown. Today, we are examining the mystery known as LOL Superman, not to hunt for disturbing footage, but to ask a more important question: how does an uncertain memory become an online historical legend? Act 1. The event behind the rumor. Before examining the mystery, we need to separate the event from the internet story built around it. On September 11th, 2001, 4 commercial aircraft were hijacked. 2 struck the World Trade Center in New York. Another struck the Pentagon in Virginia, and the fourth crashed near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after passengers and crew attempted to regain control. Nearly 3,000 people died. The attacks produced an unusually large body of professional and amateur recordings. News crews, tourists, first responders, and bystanders documented different parts of the morning from different distances. Some authentic photographs and videos show people falling from the towers. That fact is established. But the footage showing a person falling is not automatically footage showing the moment of impact, and that distinction is the center of this entire case. The towers were severely damaged, and evacuation routes were disrupted above the aircraft impact zones. In some areas, stairwell access was compromised or unavailable. People trapped high in the buildings faced impossible conditions, and some fell or jumped. Their final moments were recorded from several locations, but the public historical record does not authenticate a specific ground-level video matching the LOL Superman description. That is the first rule of this investigation. A story about a fire is not the same as the fire itself. The existence of real recordings makes an alleged video plausible in a broad sense. It does not prove that one particular clip survived, carried a particular title, or show the details later attached to it. Act 2. A name looking for an object. The best-known early account appeared in 2015 on the paranormal board of the website 4chan. An anonymous poster said they remembered early YouTube footage filmed near the base of the World Trade Center. The account described a camera close to the towers and referred to an offensive comment resembling LOL Superman. No copy was attached. There was no frame, URL, upload record, or chain of custody. Other users claimed to remember related material, but their descriptions did not line up. Some recalled people falling near the plaza. Others remembered cameras close to the towers, but specifically denied seeing impacts. Reported titles, locations, durations, audio, and the number of people shown varied from one account to another. The phrase LOL Superman may never have been the original title at all. It could have been a comment, a joke, or a later label supplied by searchers who needed the name for an unidentified object. Once that label became popular, future witnesses could describe their memories through it, even if they had never seen the original post. This is how online memory can become self-reinforcing. A person remembers a disturbing image. They encounter a discussion that gives the image a title. Years later, they report the memory using that title. The new report then appears to corroborate the old one. The sources look separate, but they may all lead back to the same rumor. There were references on older forums and social platforms, including claims involving shock websites, video hosting services, and even tapes allegedly sold online. But the apparent agreement is not the same as independent corroboration. To establish that, researchers would need to show when each account was made, what source it relied on, and whether the writer had access to material unavailable to everyone else. Act 3. When an image is not a source. Interest surged again in 2022 when a Reddit post included a grainy still image said to come from the alleged video. It seemed to show an area near the World Trade Center plaza. The low resolution encouraged speculation because viewers could project the missing context onto it. A vague shape became a camera operator. A familiar building became proof of location. The lead changed when researchers traced the image to an earlier recording made during a tourist visit to the World Trade Center on June 10, 2001, before the attacks. That discovery did not merely disprove one screenshot. It demonstrated why provenance matters more than visual resemblance. A picture can look convincing when it is isolated. Its meaning changes when the original upload, date, location, and surrounding footage are restored. This is a recurring problem in lost media research. Screenshots are useful clues, but they are not authentication. Without a traceable origin, even a genuine image can be assigned to the wrong event. Researchers also searched archival institutions and reportedly filed a Freedom of Information request seeking footage recorded on the plaza. The FBI response invoked a law enforcement exemption for material in an investigative file. That response may indicate that responsive records existed somewhere in an investigative system, but it does not identify those records as LOL Superman. The request was broad enough to include many kinds of material: evidence, interviews, recordings, or footage already known to investigators. An exemption is not a confirmation of a hidden video, and it is not evidence that authorities deliberately suppressed one. It only tells us that the requested records were not released under that response. Act 4. Could the story work in the physical world? The search eventually moved from memories to geography. Some reconstructions proposed a route through the complex toward the plaza and close to the towers, but the World Trade Center was not an open stage that morning. Debris, fire, injuries, security restrictions, emergency operations, and evacuation flows changed access from minute to minute. Non-professional footage helps establish what some cameras could see, but it does not automatically identify the missing camera. Jack Trecio, a Fox 5 New York cameraman, recorded near the complex and was briefly able to enter the plaza area after the second aircraft impact. His footage is valuable evidence of the environment, yet the surviving material is not LOL Superman. Photographer Joe Curry also made early images from the complex. His photographs are important because they preserve conditions close to the beginning of the disaster, but proximity is not identity. Being near a possible filming location does not make someone the unknown cameraman, and researchers should not turn documented witnesses into targets for speculation or unwanted contact. A proposed route must also fit the timing. Could a person move through the area? Was that entrance open? Were people being directed out? Was the camera position possible before the next major event? These questions rarely produce absolute answers, but they can make a proposed scenario more or less compatible with the historical record. This is an important distinction. Someone could have filmed something from a certain area is a possibility. Someone did film the alleged event, preserved a copy, uploaded it under a particular name, and later lost it is a much larger claim. Each part requires its own evidence. Act 5. The Archive Maze. Shock websites from the early internet became natural places to search. Sites such as Oglish and Heaven 666 were associated with graphic material, and surviving pages contain provocative file names and claims about unreleased recordings, but a file name is not a file. It does not establish what the contents were, who uploaded them, or whether they were connected to the World Trade Center. Some Oglish-related files have reportedly been recovered and reviewed. The known material does not match the commonly described LOL Superman claim, although incomplete archives cannot prove that every lost item has been found. That is a negative result, not a final verdict. Another promising lead was a 2006 YouTube upload titled Superman. Its placement near September 11th material made it seem connected, especially because early recommendation systems relied heavily on tags. Later identification linked the clip to a different building fire from 1986, not the World Trade Center attacks. That example offers a plausible explanation for at least some mistaken memories. A disturbing clip can remain vivid while its date, location, and title fade. Years later, a viewer may attach it to a better-known tragedy discussed in the same online spaces. This possibility does not explain every testimony, but it shows how misattribution can happen without anyone deliberately inventing a story. Then came the most dramatic modern breakthrough. A Reddit account described a former television technician known only as Jay, who supposedly had access to rare broadcast material and had uploaded files to Heaven 666. The account pointed toward suggestive file names, including one resembling a title for a September 11th shock video. The story seemed persuasive because it supplied what the mystery had always lacked: a person, a website, a technical explanation, and an apparent archive. But the central details were never independently verified. The supposed J was not documented, the cache was not authenticated, and the file names still did not prove the contents of the files. A short clip was then presented as a recovered fragment. It was described as a corrupted image file from a video called 9/11 Splatterfest. Researchers questioned its movement, frame rate, zoom behavior, encoding history, and explanation for the alleged corruption. The clip is not shown here because its claimed subject involved real victims and because it was later admitted to be fabricated. The account later confessed that J was fictional and that the fragment had been created as a hoax. According to the confession, a three-dimensional model of the plaza had been rendered and degraded to resemble old internet media. The stated purpose was to criticize poor research and alleged harassment within the search community. Whatever the motive, the method damaged the investigation. Fabricating evidence about a real tragedy created more misinformation, encouraged more attention toward private witnesses, and made authentic archival work harder. A criticism can be valid while the tactic used to express it is reckless. This hoax did not prove that every earlier account was false, but it did prove how easily a convincing digital artifact can redirect an entire community. Act 6. What the search should preserve. The deeper lesson is not that every lost media mystery is imaginary. Early internet files really were deleted, renamed, re-encoded, and hosted on platforms that disappear. Absence of evidence is not evidence of non-existence. But the longer a claim circulates without an original file, contemporaneous reference, or a reliable chain of custody, the more carefully it must be classified. A useful hierarchy begins with memory. Memory can generate a lead, but it is vulnerable to time and repetition. A screenshot is stronger, but only if its source is known. Metadata, consistent witness accounts, location analysis, and contemporaneous references add weight. The strongest evidence is an original file with a documented chain of custody and technical details consistent with its claimed date. The internet is both archive and distortion engine. It preserves abandoned pages by accident, but it also mixes unrelated videos through tags, reposts, recommendations, and copied descriptions. A rumor does not always begin with one deliberate lie. Sometimes it forms from a vague memory, a mislabeled image, a plausible platform, and years of repetition. When real deaths are involved, the ethical goal should change. Historical preservation means protecting context, dignity, and provenance. It does not mean distributing graphic material or contacting survivors, photographers, cameramen, and families because an anonymous post mentioned them. Researchers should preserve original links, timestamps, screenshots, hashes, and metadata, while relying on reputable institutions and survivor-centered collections. That brings us back to LOL Superman. Publicly available evidence supports an unresolved allegation, not a confirmed lost video. Some related footage from September 11th is authentic. Some leads were misidentified. Some records remain inaccessible or incomplete. And at least one major modern discovery was deliberately fabricated. The mystery matters because it reveals how digital memory is made. It also shows the cost of abandoning standards when a story feels emotionally convincing. The responsible conclusion is not to find the most disturbing clip. It is to become better at recognizing what history can actually support. If you want to explore this subject further, use public archives, oral history projects, and documented preservation collections rather than searching for private copies of death footage. And when you encounter a new lost media claim, ask one simple question first. What is the source? And can its path to the present be demonstrated?